I'm on a journey to get better, and I want to do it with you. And I'm not just focusing on physical health, I'm focusing on everything: emotional wellness, spirituality, finances, relationships, and so much more. Every week, it will be my personal goal to bring us, the world's leading healers, experts, and game changers, to share groundbreaking secrets and tips to getting better in all areas of life. Getting better isn't easy, but it's a whole lot easier when we can do it together. Welcome to Better Together with me, Maria Menounos. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Oh, it's Monday. Our quote of the day: let go of who you think you need to be and just be who you actually are. That was anonymous. No one has claimed that quote, Steph Sabra.
Maybe we should today.
Yeah.
Reclaim it.
Maybe we should. I feel like we should reclaim Stephen Lemieux because he's not been present for a little while.
Oh, no.
What did I do? I was scared off by Patty.
Every time I come in, oh, yes.
I was terrified.
You know what's funny? I'm glad you brought that up. Kevin said he listened to the episode and he didn't agree. I don't know what he didn't agree with because we didn't get any further, but maybe he got further with you.
I am banned from 6 gyms in the Los Angeles area now. Apparently asking out 4 people a day is not what you're supposed to do at the gym. Yeah, I don't know. And also 8 Starbucks.
8 Starbucks dead. I would be miserable if, well, not if you came up and hit it. I'm saying, like, if anybody, I was about to say that and I was like, okay. If anybody hit on me at the gym, first of all, that's why I don't go to the gym, because I don't want to deal with any of that. Right?
It's like
so awkward, people staring at you and like hunting you like you're a piece of meat.
It's so hard to like focus already on the fact that you have to go and work out, which is already like, oh, I got to go work out.
Mm-hmm.
But then to like, I don't know, for me, it's like to think about having to ask somebody out and like deal with like the possibility of rejection when you're already like trying to make yourself look better. And then for women, I just hear that literally every day they just dread anyone walking up to them and they just shove their headphones on tighter.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We dread it until the right person comes. So it's like, the problem is if you're not really the right person in that moment.
There needs to be a mega vibe to be felt.
Mega vibe.
Mega vibe.
Yeah, it's like when you're sitting on a plane and someone comes and sits next to you, you don't want to talk to anybody. But if it's, Brad Pitt, yeah, I would love to talk to you, Brad Pitt, or if it's, someone who I'm super into, then yeah. So it's very, very tough to judge. Yeah. But if you don't know what we're talking about our episode last Monday with Patty Stanger, the love relationship expert, and she went hard at Stephen. Told him he was did she call you a pussy?
She called me a girl for doing light weights at the gym, and
that was my interpretation at the end, is that you were a pussy.
I left feeling like a pussy. I was like, damn, Patty has owned me and now she's my dom.
Yeah, she basically called you out for not
not
being bold with women and thinking too much. So listen, if you take the good from what she said, I think it has already made an impression on you.
Hey, I took some of the good of what she said.
Mm-hmm.
I did meet somebody over the last week.
Shut up!
Yeah.
So she was right?
She wasn't right. I didn't ask them out on the gym or anything like that.
But you stopped thinking too much.
No, it wasn't that advice that I took. I'm still thinking with my brain way more than my penis. I'm sorry. I still need to send some blood flow down there, Maria.
Oh my God, please don't get that descriptive. It's Monday morning.
No, I used the phone call advice. Where I was like, hey, let's hop on the phone call.
Oh.
Yeah. And
so this was somebody you met on an app?
Yes.
Okay.
So we hopped on a phone call and we talked for like 4.5 hours one night.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then we went out and we've found a way to hang out every day since. Yeah.
What?
It's just like there's a connection. It's cool.
Wow. So Patty gave Stephen advice. He said that instead of like going out and doing all the work of like meeting somebody and then hating them and not wanting to be with them, do a phone call, a FaceTime, so that you can at least get everything out of the way, whether you really look like your app picture, whatever, all that aesthetic stuff, and then see if there's a connection. We have to email Patty Stanger today and say, even though you
called me a pussy,
you beat him up, you called him a pussy, basically, your advice worked. listen, somebody can give you, 10 pieces of advice. If one of them worked,
Yeah.
there you go.
I
So if
agree.
you want love, go back and listen to last
So
week's episode.
weird.
Pretend you're Steven.
Yeah, that was the thing with her advice. There was like great gems, and then there was one thing you disagree with, but that makes sense. But the majority was she was just saying she was speaking the truth a lot for the majority.
I know. It's harsh sometimes to hear the truth. And, it's like you're not going to always agree with everything everybody says. So you just take the good. That's it. You take the good.
Did you have a good Valentine's with your boo?
I did. I did. We had a little get together at the house. We initially were having a few of our neighbor couples come over, and then Kevin was like, "Well, I think some of our staff is not having plans. Can I invite some over?" I'm like, "Sure." And so we had a little shindig at the house. We cooked. My dad, Violetta, and I made healthy nachos. My mom's
I love
recipe.
those.
It was actually cool because my mom remembered how to make her recipe.
Oh, that's cool.
Like her brain is in a good place cognitively right now. And so
Cooking's so important to your family.
yeah, like she just finished chemo a week ago, so she's still really lethargic. I just sent them to get another high dose vitamin C infusion, and that will help her as well. But it was like, "Mom, come over here." She was sitting on the couch. "Come show me how to do this. I don't remember." And so she came over and she was telling me, and it was so cool to see her brain working as well as it has. And everybody who came over was like impressed at her, the difference between her now, like before Thanksgiving and now. So that was cool.
It was nice seeing Jesse with your mom. They
Yeah.
have like such a cool rapport.
Yeah. I was really surprised, and it was cool to see. I always think it's so nice when someone, you're at a party and you end up spending time with somebody like my mom, who isn't necessarily maybe the best company for you at 20 something years old. You know what I mean? And so he spent a lot of time with her. That was really sweet.
And also Costas' soup was a star. I took
my
an
God.
entire salmon fillet and dunked it in the soup. And
You did?
Oh my God, I put salmon in the soup. It was so good. Everything was just like bomb.
Yeah, it was, you know what? Really easy menu, right? You buy a bunch of salmon, you like put your spices on it or whatever, some chopped salad, and you're done. Then we added my dad's beef soup, which is just some vegetables in a pot.
Oh yeah, I heard the salmon was unreal.
The salmon was unreal.
Yeah.
So good.
I
was
need that
unreal.
recipe.
And then everybody made cupcakes and cookies and such. I ate 2 cupcakes and then a cookie, and then I couldn't breathe all night.
I've been eating like a cow, Maria, just for duty. Moo.
Where's the moo sound effect,
A real
Steven?
moo. Yeah, for the past 2 days.
That does not sound like a cow. That sounds like a squirrel gnawing at your butt or something.
That makes me think about how you are the only human I've ever met on Earth who somehow summons squirrels to come play with you.
I know, we should do a TikTok with that video.
Yes. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
That's a perfect one because people would be like, "What the heck? I need
know,
to
they're
see more
so
of this."
cute. There's
Okay.
another video that I did with my partner's rally where we were in the public garden, and I go, "Guys, watch this." I sat on the bench, and I go, "Come here, little guy." And he pops up on the bench, gets on my lap, and they're like, "What? How does this happen?" I'm like, "They're my friends."
It's the weird. I've never seen it.
I swear, I want to know how long squirrels live, because I wonder
Yeah.
if they're like elephants and
I'm
they
gonna
remember
look.
me from 20 years ago when I used to hang with them in the public garden, right?
How
Because
long?
elephants can remember you up to, I think it's 20 years, something like that, from when you meet them. In the meantime, as Steph gets the statistics, thank you
15
for.
to 18 year, or yeah, 15 18.
Oh, maybe these were like long living, beat the statistics kind of squirrels.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, some reason I doubt it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
this was in Boston.
Oh, this is in Boston.
Yes.
Live
Harsher
fast, die
conditions
young.
too.
Better drivers.
Oh, man. Meanwhile, thank you guys for joining us on Better Together. When you know better, you get better. We, of course, are asking everyone to migrate over to our Patreon because we want to make this an ad-free space. And we want to continue to build this community. We see you guys all jumping over, and we're so grateful. Just go to the summary link and click on there. And whatever you can afford, there's $5, $10. It helps us as well, of course, keep the show going and bringing you all this great content. But really, it's just if we can migrate over there, we can be ad-free.
Yeah.
So we do an extra show a week, which is awesome. We do an after show, and we have more stuff coming too. So join us at Patreon. Steven, do you have something you want to add to that?
No, just that it's really fun, and we do the after shows are really fun because we don't have to be as like strict about what we talk about. So it's kind of like a deep dive of the topics, and then like the Patreon episodes are always cool because you have your friends on, or it's like Kevin comes in, and it's more of a hangout where we get to really like talk about like the things that have made us better that week.
Yeah.
So it's way more intimate. If that makes sense.
Totally. I actually have here, it looks like we have our Patreon Viome winner. So we were giving away, we got an extra Viome kit for free, and we figured we would share it with you guys. So our Patreon Viome winner, because we chose from our Patreon subscribers, is... Where are the drum rolls? Where are the sound effects, Steven? Like, what do you do in that engineer booth anyway? Right, Scam?
Oh my God, no.
Oh my Lord.
No.
Dead. Okay, our Patreon Viome winner is...
Oh, that's pretty good.
There we go.
I like that.
Yes.
Winter's coming, guys.
Winter is here.
You're gonna poop in a box.
You're gonna poop in a box, and you're gonna know what your microbiome says.
Scoop it, poop it, ship it.
Poop it, scoop it. No, poop it, scoop it, ship it,
See
and
it.
then
Diet.
eat better.
Yeah.
And the winner of the Patreon Viome is Carolyn Taylor. Woo! Thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for being with us, Carolyn. And we hope that your experience with the Viome is as great as ours.
Carolyn's
have you
one
guys,
of the OG
Is she?
Patreons, yes.
Oh, very cool.
Patrons.
Have you guys been keeping up? Did you get your results yet, Steven?
Not yet.
Okay, Steph?
No, I haven't either.
Okay.
We got to check in on that.
Too bad for you guys.
I know. That's
I'm-
probably why I ate like a cow.
I'm trying to keep up. No, I've been doing really well. I've been eating so clean and so well, and then I just go completely off the wall.
That's what happened to me.
I know. It's been terrible.
Yeah, I am a grade A student, just eating all my veggies and really drinking water, lemon water, thanks to your trees. And then this weekend, I don't know what happened. Must have been the V-Day hangover.
Must have been the V-Day.
I will say that I've like been noticing what works for me and what doesn't work for me. Now that I've like cut out everything, as I like
And you just eat air.
Now that I eat ice.
No, like now that I'm like building my personal food guide pyramid for myself, like I'm noticing like what makes me feel like crap the next day, what doesn't make me feel like crap. I apparently do really well with fajita veggies and beef and chicken, and that's like bomb for me. But the moment I eat like a hamburger,
You look like you come from the ancestors, the caveman ancestors, for sure.
Thank you. I have huge Cro-Magnon eyebrows.
Can you
Maria?
imagine, like, if he just grew out his hair and he wore, like, the big woolly mammoth, like,
Oh
coat?
my God.
Sorry,
Just
guys.
holding a turkey leg at all times.
It looks like him. He looks like them.
I'm gonna turn off my my auto translator.
Yeah. If you could see Steven right now, make sure they pop your face up on the YouTube so everyone sees you. Yeah. He looks like he could be a caveman. Just grow out the hair.
God, where's your translator?
So bad. So the diet thing is funny. And I was thinking this morning, so I was like on the verge of getting sick again this week. And you know what I did? So I'm still tongue scraping, by the way. I don't
Me
know if you guys-
too.
Okay, good.
Are you oil pulling?
I am.
I'm
not
not.
every day, but I did it this week when I was sick because I was thinking I did it one day when I wasn't feeling well, and I felt like it got everything out of my throat. It literally does, like pulls. And so I think that's what saved me from getting sick.
I need to do the oil pulling, but the tongue scraping is a game changer.
Game changer.
Like, when Sahara said you are gonna be grossed out that you weren't before, I feel that.
Yeah. So Sahara
deeply.
Rose was on our show before many episodes ago, and she gave us a new regimen, an Ayurvedic regimen that I still keep tight to me. So today, guys, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to get you back, how to find the you that's buried deep, deep, deep under all the other shit. all the stuff that everybody told you you're supposed to be, all the things that the world expects you to be, all the things that you think you're supposed to be. We're just going to go back and find you. And it's funny that this episode comes up now because just this week, in the mornings when I'm getting ready, I'm either listening to like Gabby Bernstein or Esther Hicks, or this week I've been listening to Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer was saying something to the effect of when we're born us, right? And then as parents, we go in and we start to mold this little person. And, our parents tell us what to be, how to be. You got to be a good girl. You got to do this. Everybody says that, they start to tell you what you're supposed to be from go and how to act and what you should wear and what you should be like. And you suddenly lose you from way back then. So it's funny. I said this to Kevin because then he went on to say that we're not supposed to do that. They come through us. Kids come through us, but we're supposed to allow them. Which sounds scary, and we would need more guidance, right?
Yeah.
Because my thought was always, as parents, we're supposed to teach our kids, right? And part of that is telling them what to do and what not to do. But who really wants to be told what to do anyway? None of us. We usually rebel against it anyway at some point in life. And so I was telling Kevin this. He goes, Maria, I feel like at 52, I'm trying to find myself again and get back to me because that's exactly what happened to me. Everybody told me what to do. Everyone told me who I was supposed to be. And that's where I'm at now. And if I think about a lot of the people who are listening to this show, I think that's what this journey is. And this show is mostly about is obviously how to be better in all areas of our life, but how to reclaim us. And so it's interesting to know that as I'm having a deep conversation, everyone in the booth is laughing hysterically. What a distraction.
I'm sorry. I looked to my left and her notes for the episode are calling Steven a pussy at 3 minutes and 26. And descriptive penis talk at 4:20. And then it just goes right into 1640, how to be you and do when you're talking
to be you. How not to be a pussy. Perfect.
Okay, we were having a full-on moment in here.
Yeah, and you can't see that, but I'm like, what are they laughing about in there?
I'm like, yes, preach, yes.
I'm going to get a curtain. I'm going to like close the curtain when I don't like what I see over there. Anyhow, Michele Meiche is in the leading forefront of meditation, mindfulness, spiritual awakening as it relates to consciousness. She's been practicing meditation and yoga for over 30 years. She's been teaching advanced spiritual principles for over 20 years. She's going to teach us today how to get back to self, because so many of us lose our joy and sense of authentic self throughout the years. And it also happens to be the beginning of a retrograde, today. Steph tells me. So we are going to pick her brain about what that means, because
everyone's always talking about it. They always blame a lot of things on the retrograde. Steven hates that. And everyone's like, oh, it's a retrograde. Like, buckle up. I'm like, what? But what's happening?
Yeah.
How's it working?
She knows.
Yeah, she knows.
She's an astrology expert as well.
Yeah, she has such a wide range of skill sets.
And she's a personal coach, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember Kevin wanted to work with her. So without further ado, let's chat. Let's find ourselves. Here's Michele Meiche. Thank you for joining us, Michele.
Oh, so great to hear you.
Before we get into getting back to self, because that's going to be the bulk of our conversation, I have to get into retrograde first, because we were talking about it while you were sitting here before Steven was ready or any of us were ready to like start rolling. And now I'm like very interested.
Okay. Well, first I got to say, don't panic. People always panic when there's a retrograde. And they happen every 3 to 4 times a year. And it's really a time to reset, renew, reevaluate, slow down, and look at what's working or not working. It's not a time to initiate new things, but if you have something already, in the works, it's great to work out the bugs on it. This one's in Pisces. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Pisces, but
I'm a Pisces, but I don't know much.
I think that's my rising.
Oh,
I think it is. I think you told me that. We can check a co-star.
Okay, well, it's mystical, magical. It's ruled by Neptune, which also rules photography, video, film, things of magic. So this is a time to look and see where's the magic in your life, or is there enough magic? And to get to the deeper meaning of things. Because Pisces, like most water signs, are very deep. And of course, Pisces having to do with mysticism has to do with something that's just beyond ourselves. So it could be anything, like getting up early, looking at the sunrise, sunset, spending more time in contemplation or with nature, but really looking beyond just the material aspect of things and seeing how the mystery of life unfolds.
It's funny, I was listening to Wayne Dyer just this morning, and he was talking about the Tao, which I've never read or anything, but
I'm a student of that.
Yeah, and that's what all of it is about. It's like removing things needing more and attaining more is the complete opposite of the direction we should be moving in. It should be about, he was talking today about giving away the things that you love the most and the power that comes from giving away like that bag that you love the most. And it's such a foreign concept for most, right? Because you're thinking, oh, I want more things. Yeah. And it is about relenting the ego and being more godlike.
Absolutely. It's interesting, too, because I find when you're really more consciously on a spiritual path and you're kind of feeling more gratitude, you do want and need less things. Mm-hmm. You can still like nice things, and have great, designer handbags, and I'm in for all that. But the attachment isn't there. You don't identify. And that's the difference, I feel like, in this whole awakening process is less identification. That if I have this thing, this means this about me.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. If I have this much money in my bank account, there's just so much that has been predicated in the past about what we have is who we are. And so that's what's really changing.
Yeah. Well, it's like if I have that expensive bag and that expensive watch, people will look at me and think I'm important.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's surrendering that attachment, right?
What can we expect? Are things supposed to go wrong? Can we expect
that's
things
a
to
negative
go wrong?
way to look at it, Scam.
Well, every time I see people and they're like, it's the retrograde, man. Like, this is why my computer died. This is why I got in a car accident. Is that true or not?
Yeah, okay, here's why. Because Mercury, so it's the planet Mercury, it slows down so much that it seems like it's going backwards. And so it's the first time, because Mercury rules the mind, how we think and what we think. So think of like universal mind. It's the first time that the mind is slower than physicality or movement, which would be Mars. That's why things get mixed up. Because we're usually moving so quickly. This is why the retrograde in a way is good, because we don't realize how much our mind thrusts us into things. Because we think of thought. We're moving quickly. We're thinking this, we're thinking that. So you get tripped up more when Mercury is in retrograde because it's slowed down, the thinking process, the mind, anything that has to do with mental processing or any kind of processing, like computers, electrical, anything that makes things kind of work, unfortunately.
Wow.
But it depends. It means, because it's more involved because it depends on where it is affecting you in your chart. Like, I rarely have computer issues. Not going when there's Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
I have it a few days or a week before, but during the retrograde I don't, which is the shadow period. So we were in the shadow period the beginning of February. So I don't know if any of you had issues during that time.
Wait, so has retrograde hit officially?
It's hit, but there's a shadow. There's a beginning 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. So it comes on
so
slowly.
So it's like the pre-show.
Yeah.
Super Bowl hasn't happened yet. It's the pre-show.
Exactly. Oh, that's a good way to describe it. And it is a pre-show, all right, because it can sometimes be worse than the actual retrograde.
Okay, so what does pre-show look like? What does the shadow look like?
You start having issues. You start having sometimes miscommunications, issues with computers.
And
traffic.
when did this shadow period start?
February 1st.
What day is it today?
Yeah,
You're like
17th,
tracking
so-
the calendar, your diary.
No,
Yeah,
mine
maybe
was doing. I feel great. I feel like maybe the last 2 days or something, it's starting to get a wobbly. I forgot to meditate on Saturday, but that's because I slept most of the day. And then yesterday, I was like, the day's going away, and I haven't meditated yet. So I made my best friend meditate with me. It was amazing.
Oh, that is
nice.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like there's a little wobbliness.
You can
maybe
tell a little
happening.
bit. Yeah, there's, and I think instinctually people kind of want to slow down, but then you want to make things happen.
Yes. Well, it's confusing. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's good to know.
Yeah, so you have to follow your instinct. Like, okay, I can just take a beat.
Yeah.
Don't have to push it right now.
And how long does that last?
Well, the retrograde will be till March, I think 9th or 10th, depending, where you are in the hemisphere, what part of the world.
Great. So we'll be useless for about a month. Is that what we're saying here? That's not a really positive way to look at it either.
But make it work for you. I mean, it's
How do we
great.
make it? You're the coach.
Yes.
You tell us how to make it work for us.
If you have projects or contracts, that's the time to go over contracts. Because remember, the mind is slowed down.
So you'll catch stuff.
Exactly. Reevaluate relationships, your life, your goals. Do I really need to do this or want to go in this direction? Mm-hmm. It's in Pisces, so mental health. It's 12th house, 6th house polarity, because Virgo is the opposite of Pisces. So fitness, health regime, foods, diet, mental health, meditation. Are you getting enough, like I said, mystical time? So it's a really self-inquiry time. But that's what I'm saying. If you work with it, it won't trip you up.
Interesting. Yeah, it's when you fight it.
Exactly.
It's just like anything, right? You have to allow the universe to just happen.
Yeah. Believe me, I have had clients of mine that have pushed, like they want to close on a house or they're looking at something and I'm like, oh, I would just wait. This is the one I know, and it's right smack in the retrograde. And they're just beginning the cycle. It's different if you've already been looking at a house and
You identified it before.
Exactly. And I can tell you so many times, most of the times, I think maybe once it didn't happen. They came back, either the house fell through or something they missed. One was a horrendous mold story.
Oh, gosh.
Because they pushed it through during the retrograde. And I'm like, I just don't feel good about this house. And I would just wait. And I think at the time it was Mercury and Capricorn. So that was even more on the material plane. So it's a kind of check and balance.
Okay. All right. Well, we know how to work with it now.
Yes.
And so, okay, I want to get onto the subject of getting back to self, because even, again, it's just random that I've been listening to Wayne Dyer this last week, but he was talking about how when we're born, we're our authentic self. And then slowly, environment, parents, people start to tell us who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to look like, what we're supposed to act like. And then you turn 50 or 40 or 30 and you're like, who the hell am I? I don't even know who I am. And so how do we find our authentic self now, whatever age we're at?
Good point. Ooh, I love that question. I always suggest to people to start noticing what you are really drawn to naturally, because part of what has to happen for people to heal and get empowered to then start living authentically is they have to reconnect to their feelings, because usually over time their feelings have become deadened, numbed to what they really want to do. So it's not just their feelings, but it's also their sense of identifying what really gives me joy. What do I really like doing? So until you can answer that starts putting you back into, your own energy, not only inner GPS, because I say we have an inner GPS, but think about it, global positioning, you have to have a position. You have to know where you're going. So sometimes we have to realign to our inner compass. And our inner compass leads us by joy, by fulfillment, by a sense of meaning and purpose, by love. You see a cute little puppy or a baby or something, and it just gets you. You just feel it. So kind of you can say in the old paradigm, we were taught to, like, for this, I always call it the rule book or the manual that doesn't work, but everybody got one. Do A and B and you'll get this. Do this and you'll be happy. This is the way to success. And so many people follow that, and then it ends up not working. And so then there's a lot of frustration. I also say, take time for yourself. spend time with yourself, meditate, spend time in nature, and also spend time with yourself reflecting back around 4 to 8. What did I naturally like doing? Where did I spend most of my time? What did I love doing? And some people tell me when I have them do, oh, I can't remember. I say, okay, just try it. Just journal.
That was the first thing I said as you said it. I don't remember anything.
Same as.
Yeah, I generally don't, but then I did. I remembered.
See?
It was like animals and nature.
See,
and,
yeah. So there'll be pieces of that. Even like what I do. In fact, I was interviewed on something a few weeks ago, and somebody asked this question. And I said, I've been doing the same thing that I was doing as a kid. And they said, how so? And I said, well, I used to put on plays, but they always had meaning, neighborhood plays and plays with my my siblings. But there always was it was just like a big workshop. I didn't know it. Now I do all these workshops and retreats. But it is like this play. It's this putting this happening on so people can have this experience, this transcendent experience. So you will always see kernels of what it is that you love doing, whether it's for your career or a vocation or just parts of your life that have meaning and purpose for you. So you really do have to spend the time to go back and decode, but also to kind of chip off the rust or the numbness to what's really me and what do I really feel, what do I really like? And then the judgment, working with the judgment on it also, because sometimes we judge ourselves like, well, why do I want to do that? Or is that really important? Or where's that going to lead me? That's all like brainwash chatter.
Yeah, you just went through my second question. So it's like the first was, I don't remember anything. And then the second was, okay, but doesn't everybody think those same things when they're little? Like everybody wants to be a teacher when they're little, or everybody wants to, like we used to play like cops and robbers, or I would always be performing, whether it was on my little toy organ. Nobody paid attention, by the way. No one paid attention to any of my stuff, right? So I'd be like at Christmas, I'm like, I'll play Silent Night. No one would listen. I'm like, I know how to play this on the auto harp. No one gave a shit. They're like, it's not Greek. We don't know. Whatever. I used to force them to try to listen to me. I'm like, somebody, I want to perform for you.
We need to reclaim this moment. I'm going to recreate like a Christmas setting where you can just play on your.
Yeah. Well, no, that's why Dancing with the Stars is amazing, because they had to watch.
Yeah. I love that.
That was my recital. But
Maria, I used to do it with ballet. I'd make my brothers and his friends watch in the living room, and I'd do grand jetés throughout the whole living room, and they would just sit there and, your sister's really good. I held them hostage.
So if that's something that you remember, how do you translate that now into what you're saying? Or is that maybe, like if you're writing the list of the pieces, maybe that's not a piece. Maybe it's just that you enjoy dancing, right? Or how do you reconcile all the things? Like I said, I liked performing. I loved animals. I loved helping. I was always like a helper. And I loved producing and putting things together. So it's like, how do you put all that together?
You look and
what do
see,
you abandon?
Yeah, the piece. What's the main thrust or goal behind it? What do you always come back to? Like I used to model, and I would be the one always people opening up or asking questions about being psychic, because I was, natural psychic, born psychic. So no matter what I did, these other elements came up. So if I was going to do something performing and have a podcast or something, it would be on spirituality. That would bring me the greatest joy. Because our purpose isn't not so much what we do, it's how we do it.
Ooh.
So yes. So that's why it's important to isolate, like you're talking about, these different elements and see how did you do it differently. Your intention, your motivation for performing. Did you like heart connecting? Did you like teaching? Most people that call them soul rays will fall under, like some people it's about knowledge, maybe inventing something. They just get great joy in that. Some people are teachers. Some people are teachers and healers. They like to make somebody feel better. I call it nursey energy.
Yeah.
Right? So you kind of look and see, well, where's the part that makes me feel really fulfilled? Some people, it's funny because I have a lot of clients in the TV and film industry. And most of them that really love what they do, in the beginning, a lot of them will say, oh, I just like the laughs or I like to perform. Then when you start digging around, they go, well, I like making people feel happy.
Mm-hmm.
Or I bring joy. Or I use my gifts and I go to the hospitals and work in the pediatric, with the children.
Pediatrics, yeah.
Pediatrics,
Yeah.
thank you. So that's the purpose. But the mode can be different. So you really have to not only isolate what it is, but what's the reason for you behind it. That's what's going to give you the greatest joy. Because it can't be just about everyone else. You're doing it for everyone else. There has to be a reason you like doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so it can't just be I love performing to make everybody happy.
Mm-mm.
You have to find the reason that makes you happy too.
Exactly.
Huh.
And that's what gets kind of circumvented with people. That's what gets missed, is they think that it's this external thing to other people. They forget, okay, well, I'm in this too. And the more that I'm in it, the more fulfilled I'm going to be and feel, the more abundant, and the more actually what I want to do is going to happen.
Yeah.
So it is that looking at the pieces and putting it together. And also we're talking also lifestyle. So like you said, pets and animals. That would also just say about your whole lifestyle. Because we have our, mental, emotional, spiritual, material aspect of us. So it's all of us, all parts of us. So the more parts that we hit and are fulfilled in, the better we live our life and the more authentically we live.
I just thought of like a game, like a whack-a-mole or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you got to hit all of them to feel good, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like you can't just have two and then you have I envision like you have like 30 buckets. If you're only filling two of them, man, you're like sinking. But if you're filling all of them, that's kind of cool.
Exactly.
That is.
Yeah, you have to fill them all. It may not be even, whatever that is, you have to figure that out.
Yeah, well, that's balance, right? You're not going to
Exactly.
be even all the time probably
No.
because that's trying to achieve perfection. But
Yeah.
you know that they exist and you have to flower. It's like watering the flowers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like, Maria, you did this recently post brain tumor. I think you've done a lot of this where you do your instruments, you have the pets and the organizations surrounding pets and the charities and the family and the research and then a show like this. So you're filling all your cups. But how did you know that those were all your interests? Have you always been doing that? Or I'm kind of asking for the people who forgot, people like me who don't remember the 4 to 8.
Yeah.
How would they reach back into what you did?
Well, what I did was I was like, I want to do all the things that I never got to do before because I was recovering
And working
I had time,
80 hours a day.
right? And so when your life is devoted to work and you have no hobbies and you also don't have time to see friends, you're like, okay, I'm throwing all this stuff back into my life. So I made sure I made time for friends and made time for family and flew home for Thanksgiving and did that stuff. And then was introduced to guitar and was like, okay, I've always wanted to learn an instrument. I'm going to play guitar. And I committed to that. And so it was putting the focus into those areas and knowing that it was going to be helpful to me in a number of ways. First, I mean, physically, it helps build new neural pathways, right? When you learn something. But and I was like, oh, I'm sure I need a few of those after brain surgery. And then also I knew it became meditative for me. Like when I went to guitar, I'd be in there for an hour, which I haven't been in like 3 weeks because of all my travels, but I go back tomorrow. And so it becomes meditative. So when I'm in there, I'm not checking my phone for that hour. I'm not doing anything but focusing on learning and playing, and music makes me happy. So, yeah.
But let me ask you, did you have to do any kind of self-inquiry or reflection to get to this place?
To get to the guitar?
Or just to know, I want to do these other things?
I know
Those
I'd
other-
been desperate for it for so long.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
You knew. Okay.
Yeah. I had wanted to start dancing again. I had wanted to do all these things. I just couldn't fit into my schedule. And so it was the return to me, right? So I was hiking and I was in nature and I was being more authentic to me because I became somebody who was type A, because I was conditioned to look around and be like, well, those are the successful people, right? They're the ones crushing. And then to win, you have to keep up this crazy pace. And I was being rewarded, right? I was crushing it in my career. And so, but I was dying inside because all of these other parts of me weren't watered or whacked or whatever you want to call it, right? And so I was desperate for it. And I think I got to see it in different times in my life. Like when I went to shoot One Tree Hill, that TV show, I remember moving to North Carolina for like 6 months. It started off with 2 episodes and they kept adding episodes. And I would commute to New York and do some of my work for my TV shows then from there. But when I got to be in North Carolina and just do one thing, because acting wasn't my first thing, it was like my second and third. So I had to focus so much harder. I can host in my sleep, blindfolded, hands tied behind my back. But acting, it was like, okay, I have to put more focus into this. So I shut all the other noise out of my life. All the type A-ness went away and I got just to focus on that one thing. That's when I was happiest. When I shot Fantastic Four and I was in Vancouver for a month, I shut everything down and I just focused on that. I was the happiest ever. So multitasking was never anything that made me happy. It's just I got good at it and I was successful. And that was the pace I had to keep to continue to be successful. But it's not my natural state. And I don't know if it's anyone's natural state. And that's what I've been discovering since I've been healing. I am a much happier, calmer human with more stillness in my life. And not trying to keep up and not trying to have to do a million things. Like if I want to go crush, trust me, I will go out and I can do anything and crush. But what more do I really want and need? That's the thing.
So you knew already what brought you joy, though. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'd been doing some of the work at Tony Robbins seminars where he said, make a list of the things that make you happy that you can access at any moment. Because everyone can say, oh, I love going to Disneyland, but who's got a couple $100 at every whim to go to Disneyland, right? So I remember writing that list down and it was nature, animals, the beach, taking a hike, being with friends, all of those things would always make me happy. And so, yeah, I just incorporated more of that into my life.
It's interesting how it's always, no matter who, the more simple things.
Is that with your clients? You see that most often?
I see it all the time.
And do you
even in high achievers, even in could be men too. Once you start kind of scaling back, it's always the simple, really simple things.
That's why I had a vision when I was recovering of this like guy on a porch, like just like an old man on a rocking chair on a porch, like in Georgia, like a wraparound porch, big lot of land. And just, I kept seeing him and thinking like, I think he's the one who has it right. I think we're all psychos. I think we're the ones who are cuckoo. And that's when we go to like Europe and they look at us Americans and we're like, we need it to go. And we're frazzled and we're in a rush. They're like, you psychos. Now, do they have the same, economies as us and, the same riches that our country has? No, of course, because when you don't work as hard, you don't get those rewards. But they do have a better life in a sense. And so that man on the rocking porch has been somebody I've like followed in my head. And I've just said to myself, I'm like, okay, we have one life. It's quite short. And we really don't know when it's up. So are we going to spend it being psycho? Rushing and needing and all of this, getting ourselves sick? For what? To look like we have it together to all these other people? To be able to buy better handbags? To be able to have a bigger house? Like, what was it all for? Like, I almost got rid of everything. I almost got rid of this house. I wanted to get rid of everything. I wanted a little, simple, teeny house. I wanted a simple life. And my husband wouldn't let me do it. But I don't think he was quite there yet. He wasn't in the fruity train. But But I see the value in what a Wayne Dyer is saying in the Tao, which I don't even know anything about the Tao, but from what he was saying is like less is more, and simplicity is really the win.
Mm-hmm. The Tao is following the way. The I Ching is the book of the Tao, means the easy. So the easy way, it's flow.
Is it the Buddhist that follow the Tao?
It's Taoism. It's Tao. There's a great book by Carol K. Anthony called A Guide to the I Ching that gets into that. But Taoism or the Tao is really learning how to read energy and following the energy of when to yield, when to move forward. It's pretty
Interesting.
Powerful. It's pretty powerful.
We have to study that.
Yeah.
Well, because
Her book is good.
that's the other thing
just
that
wrote
gets
it down.
that's the other thing that gets complicated in life, right? Is like, when do you allow, like, okay, so the art of allowing, right? Like when I'm really fully in allowing mode, stuff just happens and it's amazing because you don't have to work for it. Exactly. It just comes. But you can't live like that all the time. That's not practical. I know that doesn't make sense, but like a Steph who's young and just starting in her career, I can't tell her, oh, just be fruity and allow and everything will come to you. Like she's got to work her ass off, right?
I think there's balance.
How do you do this? How do we reconcile everything I've learned, but I already built my career, with the young people who are coming up who want to implement stuff like this so they don't end up with a brain tumor like me, but then still achieve.
I think I did that growing up and then through college and modeling and acting and all that. It's not one or the other. I think the wisdom is knowing when, because you have to set up, but that's the ego. You have to put things in order. You have to study. You have to, push. There's certain times you have to do that. But if you keep doing that, if we're going to use like law of attraction, you become too electrical and you actually push things away. So we draw in the space. So also, if I'm too magnetic and don't do anything, there's not enough electricity also to draw in.
Interesting. I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah, you need both. There's a balance, electrical magnetic balance. But the wisdom is in knowing when and how. See, that's what most people don't get. They just think, oh, let's go with the flow, just let things happen, or draw it to me. But you have to set things up, or you have to be here at the right time. I could be sitting at home just allowing and going, God, it'd be great to talk about this with Maria and Steph, just in my room, and I'm allowing. But I had to get over here, So it's
so you have to walk some of it out.
Yes.
Right? Like,
and you have to map some of it out too mentally. It all starts
like your desires, like giving voice to your desires, which I've been doing every day after I meditate. I read my list of things I want to manifest. Like I desire this, I desire that. And then I think of it already happening and I feel the feelings of it already happening.
Perfect.
And so that's from my Esther Hicks classes.
Because the emotions, energy and motion are the carrier wave. We don't get things done or in life unless there's enough emotional energy, which is desire and passion.
Mm-hmm. But desire without feeling the absence or the void of it, without being like, oh, I don't have this, I need this, or it's more like, I would love this.
Yeah, more not so much the absence, but the feeling of having it.
Yeah,
is what draws it to us, because our body then and there's a biochemical component, starts feeling already that we do have it.
Mm-hmm. And then you attract it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's like, people talk about it with jobs or relationships. When you have one, it's easier to, get another one. So when you're feeling that energy, you're feeling it, so it's emanating from you. And then that means whatever is similar enough, has enough resonance, then you will draw back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, what people a lot of think it's the thought, it's really the feeling. The feeling is really, because that's more the tone, that's the frequency. The thought is later.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why, people that feel joyful, you tend to attract joyful experiences. So the more you can feel like what you want to feel, or what you ascribe you're going to, if you draw something in, then that means I'm going to feel this certain way. If you can feel that way most of the time, you will have a better chance of drawing that in. Even if you're down or you're depressed, I work with people with depression, and I'll say, okay, do what you have to do, honor yourself how you're feeling, but I want you at least, a minute a day or 3 minutes a day, and then work your way up to imagining what it would feel like to have this situation that you want or this relationship. And once they start doing that, I mean, a lot of people start attracting already right from there, but they start feeling better about themselves, and then they start feeling hopeful.
Yeah.
Because then I'll say, well, the feeling is, where'd that feeling come from? And they're like, I don't know. And I go, no, where'd it come from? Well, I feel it, it's in me. And I'm like, yeah, if the feeling is in you, then it's a possibility to have that situation because the feeling is in you. It's not outside you.
Yeah. It wouldn't have come to you if you weren't capable of doing. How would being your authentic self feel? Because I feel like some people have lost so much sight of what it means to be them. What is there a way that it should feel like? Yeah, this is me. This is how I should feel.
Familiar, comfortable, yet a little in awe, a little unexpected, a little awe, like, oh, that's how I am, or that's what I like. Because the thing is, the more authentically you live, the more you connect to your soul. There's some surprises because parts of you that you didn't even know that you had start coming through. Or maybe you take chances in something. So it's kind of like having this really good friend that's you.
Interesting.
Much more compassion, self-love, self-compassion, self-nurturing. No matter what you've gone through in your life, or how, heinous of something that happened to you or whatever tragedy or whatever you've done, you will be able to see, well, this happened because of this or because of that, but I'm still amazing. I still got it.
So we're getting back to our authentic self. We're going to make a list of what we loved and what made us feel good between the ages of 4 to 8. And then from there, you're going to analyze it and say, what is missing from my current life?
Well, how to bring
from
that
those
in.
buckets?
Well, and another thing too that's really important in present time with that. So that's kind of going back, doing a little self-inquiry, a little reverie, but also start noticing, which I call this name it, claim it, in real time. What do you like? What do you genuinely like and are drawn to? That doesn't have to be what other people like. In fact, I always suggest to people don't tell people you're doing this, unless they're really on board. Don't share it because you want it to be very authentic to you. So you're walking down the street. It could be a clothes or something. What do you like about that? Oh, I'm really drawn to this, or I like this kind of oh, why? Okay, I like that. Because once we start naming what it is, we start identifying it in our mind. Oh, it's like style.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like me. I'm boho chic. That's whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? So name it and claim it. So that starts reorientating. Because what we need to do is recenter people back into their true self.
Yeah.
So that starts putting you back in that center point. So then along with that, you would do looking back between 4 and 8. As far back as you can look. If you can only start like teenage year, 20s or teenage years, that's fine. But try to get back to that 4 to 8 period. And if it's like just, oh, I just love to color, or I was just a great artist.
Oh, yeah. I used to love drawing.
Did you? Okay, but what did you like about that? See?
Oh, my God. I forgot. I used to by eye draw like The Simpsons, and I would make them look perfect.
Really?
Yeah. I was really good at it.
You should doodle.
I should doodle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something for you that with, again, the
I think it's like a lot of artistic stuff that I didn't. My parents were, always working and didn't have the money to send me to any of like the classes that like all the little girls went to, dance classes and stuff like that. So I feel like I missed that stuff. But I think I was pretty artistic, and that was shut down because I had to become like more producing.
Yes.
I had to translate for my family. I had to handle bills. I had to be the doer in the house to help everybody. and I couldn't just be free to be like a free spirit. Like I started walking at 8 months. I was like, get me out of here. I want to do shit. I wanted to go. And I think that's what that is. That just reminded me.
Yeah. That's actually a good question though, because what about the kids who they had to grow up really early, like the Marias? They didn't have the childhood and access to arts and crafts and free time and good memories. What would they do?
Same thing. It's still there.
Okay.
You know, whether it's staring at the ceiling and checking out, or riding their bike somewhere, or, you know, going playing at a park. There's something there. Now, remember, because it's about these different parts. So part of your authentic self isn't just going to be about what you do for work or avocation or career.
Your hobbies.
The whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
Living authentically is about lifestyle. So for some people, it may be that this is just their balancing point. You know, like I have a client that's loves finance, is a whiz and all that, that also plays the cello and has no desire to play the cello professionally. But that's his balancing point.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to go be a professional artist right now or a professional singer or anything like that. It's just if it brings you joy, you add that to your plate.
Yes, exactly. What can you add? I love that. What can you add? You know, it's like all these little hors d'oeuvres. What can you add to make your life more meaningful, purposeful, more fulfilling?
Yeah, and how great for somebody who has a mundane job that they have fallen into for one reason or another, and they don't know how to get out of it, and probably don't have the strength or courage to get out of it, which I get. How great is it to teach them to find those things to add to their plate that will give them a little more happiness, a little more balance, so that they can get through that 9 to 5
Exactly.
and feel good.
Because a lot of them are told, oh, you don't need to do that. You know, or you're in finance.
That's not going to make you money.
Yeah, or you're in finance. Why do you want to play cello? Or why do you want to go take cello lessons? What, you know, how does that fit in? That's another thing. If you're living authentically, it's very paradoxical. You're going to want to do things that don't seem to go together, like the financial person that's, you know, playing the cello. Or another client of mine is into astrology, and also another finance person. But she uses her finance in astrology. She puts them together. She'll look at charts
To see when it's good to make a move, or like financially it's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's blended the two. You know, at one point she thought she had to give up the finance because she loved astrology.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really don't see you being an astrologer, you know, just only an astrologer.
But that's why you're a great coach. That's what Kevin's like too as a coach. He'll say, how do we bring in what you love into what you're doing? Like, how do we make them both work?
Yeah. So that's the key too. So I would say to people, don't try to like make a decision. It has to be A or B, that it's both. How can you bring this all together and put it on the plate? How can I make my life more enriched, more enhanced? This isn't like really about giving things up. It's about kind of being open to adding to whatever you want to, you know, whatever you want to do, whatever you need, you know. And you might do some things and then just drop it, and that's got to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, it just might be something you visit for a little bit or revisit and just realize, okay, that was fun or interesting.
Yeah, like I'm going to drop guitar at some point and go to piano. So I decided that I'm going to finish out the course. I have like 2 more levels till I finish out the course. And then I'm going to switch to piano because I really always dreamed about playing piano.
Yeah, you've talked about it a lot.
That was always my first instrument. It's just I was introduced to guitar in my recovery and I was good at it. And I was like, okay, let's try it.
So lucky to play an instrument.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So this is really good, tangible advice for people. I think it's hard to know how to find yourself, because I know that for me, and I don't know if it's my signs or whatever, you know, I'm a Gemini, I can mold myself for anybody. I can like what you like really easily, so that you're happy and I'm happy too. Like whoever it is, like if I start hanging out with Stephanie, I can mold myself to Stephanie. I can mold myself to you. I can mold myself to anybody, right? Where I was talking about this with Ashley, who is just starting to date. Ashley used to be a producer on the show. Actually, you remember Ashley probably too. And she just started dating. And she's like, it's so hard. I don't want to get serious with anybody because I know I can make anybody work in my life because I can mold myself. And I know that sounds probably strange to some people, but I don't know. I think for survival, I had to do that a lot. So I've found myself liking certain music because somebody I likes that kind of music. So then having to take that away and decipher, what do you really like?
Yeah.
Then you get confused.
But you can have both, because I'm that way as well. Especially if you're what they call mutable sign. You can.
What's a mutable sign?
Mutable sign is not fixed. It's mutable. It can go one way or another.
Which signs are mutable? Is a Gemini mutable?
No, but Gemini, the twins, and Gemini likes a lot of experience and opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And likes to dabble, likes to rule by,
Yes.
Mercury, likes to try different things. So that's going to be natural. And for some people, it gives joy. I remember going once on a trip with an ex-boyfriend, and he was very fixed about what he wanted, Capricorn, very fixed about what he wanted and this and that. And he's like, you're so easy go. And I told him, I said, yeah, you know why? I go, because I know what I like in my head. I said, that's no fun. I already know what I would choose on the trip to go do. So why do I want to always do what I want to do?
Yeah, try new things.
Yeah, try new things. I go, that gives me a lot of joy. I'd be like, oh, well, I would never think, okay, we'll go. He's like, oh, I'm not like that. I go, I know. And I go, that's fine. I don't care because I am.
Yeah.
I said, trust me, when I really want to do something, I will do it. Or if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. But I'm kind of easy. I'm like, I'll try it. Why not?
Yeah.
What the heck? Or that kind of music? Oh, yeah, why not?
I think that's good for women, especially to know, because I have so many friends who I could see like really early on in a relationship, they start changing some of their behaviors. And I do think I'm like that too, where I do like to go with the flow and I'll let you know if I don't. But to have the for sure answer to who you are, what you like, would make navigating all of your relationships so much more authentic and healthier. Because you wouldn't be changing you're not like all of a sudden, like I could never just be a sports fanatic, like for football, let's say. I like it, but I'm not Maria. That would be, it would just be inauthentic for me to be like, let's go to a game, bro. Like, it's just not me. But I would go for fun, but I wouldn't be like you, but you have to do that.
Yeah.
You couldn't be with someone who didn't.
Oh my God. That would be very difficult.
Yeah, Kevin's the perfect
Thank God.
partner for sports.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think you have to know are you doing it because someone you love likes that and you're doing it too because they like it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to morph. But if, you know what I'm saying? But if
it's natural,
yeah,
you're like, oh yeah, I like this too.
Yeah.
I can be into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you morph the negative way as well.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth, is for every positive that you're morphing into.
Well, of course, Stephen, I die for you. I die for you.
Thank you, Maria.
Please just keep being you. It's so good. Because you just bring the fruitiness right down. You're like, well, it could be negative too.
that's right. Yes.
Tell us, Stephen.
That's true.
Oh, I haven't brought it down yet. But no, I mean, just like, because I can connect with a lot of what you're saying in terms of like, you put on certain versions of yourself that don't like certain things that you actually do like. It's based on societal norms, and for me, it was my brothers. Like, what my brothers thought was cool, I had to think was cool, and anything outside of that, I had to just kind of keep to myself and not be a fan of, or not enjoy certain TV shows, because back in the day, it was like, oh, that's gay. Because I mean, I grew up with two brothers back in the day in the 90s. That was different, but like that was like the thing, and I was like, ooh, well, I can't like that because of that. But it's the same now, like getting to know people. It's like you hang out with somebody, you're like, oh yeah, this is cool that they like. And then as soon as they say, oh, I don't like that, you're like, oh yeah, I don't like that either.
Well, that's because we're just adult children again.
Basically.
Like, we just are the same. I was telling Kevin this just the other day. We were watching TV and I go, it's just high school. We're older. That's it.
It's the emotional body.
Some of us
hasn't
evolve
healed.
a little, right? Or a lot. And then some of us just stay the same. But
I find, though, if you're living authentically and that's been reinforced, because I have a lot of clients that do conscious parenting, they're just very conscious. Their kids have zero to very little peer pressure.
Because they just know.
They just know themselves, and they're
that's
so,
cool.
oh
You need
yeah.
to teach me how to be that kind of parent. Steven, did I cut off your question?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just kind of talking.
Did you finish your statement?
I did, but I'm kind of curious, like, how do you self-realize in those moments where you don't necessarily even consciously make the decision to avoid things that other people are avoiding as well? Because, like, a lot of the things for me was when I grew up, I felt like I was bullied out of a lot of things that I liked doing, but then I realized later on, it's like, no, it was a subconscious decision I made to fit in. So how do I now look back and be like, well, what are the things that I liked, but I believe I didn't?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Ooh, you confused yourself
Very
so
good question.
deeply.
Yeah, but that's why I said earlier, when you do the name it, claim it, and these other exercises I gave, you got to talk to people about it because they can
Influence you again.
Yeah, until you get strong enough of what you like and don't like, and you don't feel bullied either externally or internally, because then we get the internal bully. No, you don't really like that, and you start shutting yourself down. So a big part of being authentic, which I feel ultimately is living more from your soul and less from feeling separate. So if we live from our soul, I feel good about being me. And I've been validated for that. That's basically, what we're saying.
But who really is validated for being them?
There are people, I've seen it.
Yeah, but I feel like, we just constantly watch people be berated for being them. I mean, I've been berated for being me. Too big, too happy, too whatever. Okay, let's just smash her down. Or you see someone in the public who dresses differently and they're berated for being them. We're also at the same time celebrating and trying to lift up those people who are being them. We're seeing it, but it's weird because it's getting better and it's
getting better and we're noticing it more. I think when people do that, then you know that there's something going on with them. Mm-hmm. It's coming from their own lack of self-esteem. They're not loving themselves. So again, I mean, it's deep healing work. But once you get it, it stings when somebody puts you down. But I had somebody once years ago tell, "Oh, Michelle's like a 220 watt. She's like so bright, so out there." And I'm like, it did hurt. I didn't get it. I was kind of young. And then years later, I thought, well, let I have a bright light.
That's kind of a compliment.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? What,
Yeah.
But they were grumpy and whatever. So it's
they hated on you because they couldn't be like you.
Exactly.
And they wanted to be lighter.
And it dented me for a little bit, but then I bounced back. My Latina side was like, loose. I've got the light,
Yeah.
But I think that's why I call spirit buddies. If you find a good friend that's on a similar path and doing similar inner work that can help you or validate, or books or podcasts like this, then you start feeling stronger.
Yeah.
And we don't have to tell everybody, I like this, I don't like this. Like, I'm just quiet. If I don't say something, I just, But if you ask me, I'll tell, my truth about it.
Yeah.
So Stephen, for you, just don't tell anybody right now and just do these exercises. Just
such a cool exercise. I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, just look back and start getting your own inner GPS, your inner compass, what you like, what you're naturally drawn towards. Then once you start confirming that for yourself and you start feeling better, it's not going to matter so much what people say.
Yeah.
But it takes a bit. But once you kind of rehab that, realign to your own intuition, your own feeling, it's harder for people to move you off of that.
Yeah. What about inner guidance? Can you talk a little bit about that and how we can access it?
Like your intuition, getting...
Yeah.
I look at things metaphysically that we have and many people probably heard the lower, it's all one self, but we have the lower self or the ego, which is the surface mind. We call it local mind also in science, and then the non-local, or getting into, the creative unconscious or collective unconscious or God, to access for our answers through prayer or tuning in. We all have that. We all have a sixth sense. But again, when we've been bullied or we haven't been validated, our feelings haven't been validated, this part of us not only stultifies but gets cut. And so again, so much of the healing and empowerment and living, authentically, having, a connection to our inner guidance is to go back. What do I feel? Do I feel good about something? So it always goes back to the feeling. Now, for some people, it could be also a flash. Sometimes you get a flash or a thought about something, or inner guidance can come through our dreams. I suggest to people when they want to work on their intuition that they keep an intuition journal and ask, whether pray or write something out that you want an answer to. It might come in a dream. And then ask for confirmations, because sometimes, we can kind of fool ourselves. So if I want to know something, I'll be, okay, I need a sign for this. And then
you ask for a specific sign, like I need to see a white bird or whatever.
No, well, that's funny because I have done that too. But your sign, see, it's also training you to listen to that part of you. So you just have to be open to how the messages come, because you're not always going to get exactly what you.
Yeah, I get them. It's hard to explain to people because it sounds crazy. Like I asked, and then the next day it came to me. Like, but how do you explain that? Like, well, how did it come to you? Well, a thought came through and it connected in my brain that was the message. I guess that's the only way to explain it.
Well, the thing is, by the way, I do have a workshop coming up this Saturday on this.
Oh, really?
The 17th on
Where?
Accessing your. It's a teleworkshop.
Ooh.
So it's international. So here's the thing: we are receivers. We have signals, but we're also broadcasters. So actually, what happens to get our inner guidance or our messages or synchronistic experiences, we're actually broadcasting. We're putting a signal out there, a message through our intention, our desire to need to know something or want something to happen. We're putting it out there. The universe catches it like in the big satellite dish and then beams it back to us in the best ways. It could be through a person, a situation, whatever it is. So it's understanding how the universe works and working in concert with it. And then taking the time, again, like you talked about earlier, you have to slow down.
To hear it.
To see it, to watch it, to feel it. It doesn't happen, you said it earlier, running around. It's not so much the multitasking, it's just doing stuff without the pauses because we miss so much. Yeah. We don't see things. Even me, as a psychic channel and medium, sometimes I'll be like, I'll get the message, and I'll could be driving somewhere. And then I realize, you were told to go down this, and I'll play little games with myself. Mm-hmm. Like, there's the parking spot that's right where you wanted, but you thought I'll go around, and now there's no parking here, and you got to go up and down when the parking space was there. So I train myself, and I go, okay, you need to listen because you're off a little. Something's going on that you're not paying attention. You're not, because that little voice is always guiding us. We're always getting the nudges. Why? Because everything in nature is based on what is most life-enhancing, what is most pro-survival. So since we're a part of nature, within us is this guidance system that's always trying to lead us in the direction that is the most life-enhancing for us, that helps us live better, live longer, have more optimal health, make things easier for us. We just sometimes trip ourselves up with the ego because we start trying to map things out. Because it's kind of scary in a way when you're living more from your intuition and your inner guidance. There's less pre-thought. Because the only part of us that pre-thinks is the ego. The ego knows the past.
Is the fear.
Well, also the ego knows the past, and it knows what it's done in the past, and so that's when we start trying to strategize. Mm-hmm. But inner guidance and intuition doesn't come by strategy. It supersedes that. Because it takes everything. It takes the past, the present, the future. It knows already what's going on. It knows the weather before we do. Mm-hmm. But the ego starts thinking, well, I made this happen, so I know if I call this person at this time and I do this and I do that, then it's going to happen. And then what happens? We're off. We're not in the flow and we miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
Think about how many times have you sent that email or that text, especially like a business thing, and there might have been a little voice that said, oh no, it's too late or it's too this. But then the person receives it, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. I wanted to hire you for this, or I wanted you to do this. Now, if you'd strategized, oh, it's got to be on a Monday, or Tuesday through Thursday is better because Friday they leave early. Mondays you don't want to inundate them with things. I don't know. People used to say that back in the day. Always do it on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sandwich it in. But nowadays you can send something on if you get that message, it can be the right time to send something. I sent something years ago late. Well, I had gotten it was a video of something. And someone said, oh, it's too late to send it. They've already, shut it down. I'm sure they've already booked the person. They're about to sign the contract. And I sent it anyway. And I ended up getting the job. And the person said, oh my God, we were about to sign this person to do the job. We were just going to FedEx the contract. And I sent it anyway. Now, I've listened to my agent, oh, they booked it already. And I thought, well, what the heck? That's trusting our inner guidance, our intuition, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard for us to wrap our mind around.
Yeah, because we're having too many thoughts rather than just, as Kevin says, think less, more do. No, less think, more do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about you're responding because the higher self knows already what you need and want. You've already put the message out there. You've already put the request. We're just responding. Now's the time to call. Now's the time to do this. Now's the time to turn left and park. So, yeah, I think once we get in the habit of living more like that, it opens up so many more opportunities. Mm-hmm. But it is retraining the mind. It's those neural pathways. It's retraining the mind to have the ego be secondary.
Yeah, and to trust.
Yes. Oh, my God, yeah. Trust. Mm-hmm. Trust and faith. Because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you talk about creating a safe, quiet, calm state of mind to achieve clarity for decision making. And I think right now while we're dealing with the shadow of Mercury in retrograde and retrograde coming, so many people
started today.
Yes. So many people have so many difficulties with decisions. I mean, I can't even pick my social media pictures. I'm like, oh, I don't know, Steph.
It's tough.
What are the steps to achieving a state of mind where decision making is possible and easy?
First of all, to not try to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Again, remember the magic is in the void. It's in the space. That's the place of the becoming.
For everything.
For everything.
Okay.
If you think about your life, all the opportunities did not happen when you were setting them up, or meeting the guy, the girl, the job. It didn't happen in the lifting. It didn't happen in the to-do. It happened in the space of it. And a lot of times unexpectedly. So you kind of have to train. You have to put your time in. Now, one thing that I suggest to people is if your mind is really active, or there's a lot of fears, or you have a lot to decide, or you have a lot of points to the decision, parts to the decision, is to journal things out. Just stream of conscious, get stuff out. Mm-hmm. Another thing is to look at, there's a process, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
If I did this or didn't do that.
But are you giving energy to the worst thing if you write it down?
No.
Okay.
That's such a misnomer. No.
Okay.
It's because it's better to bring things up from conscious, the subconscious into consciousness, because what we're not aware of, we can't change.
Okay.
So what we're aware of, we can change. So in fact, I think it's 80-90% of making change is the awareness of it. The last 15% is the doing. So if I give voice to that and let it come out, I like to do maybe a 3-part breath meditation or something like that. Just really kind of just get in, connect in with myself, and then pose the question: what's right action in this, or this decision? What's is the best? Now, sometimes you'll get it immediately. Maybe it's a picture. If it's a picture, it's going to be the one that opens your heart area. I had this recently actually with a client of mine who posted something on Instagram, Desi Bartlett. And I saw this picture and I went, oh my God, this is game changer. I don't know. It was just charged. I'm like, something's happening with this. This is setting you apart. I don't know. I say it international. So we did this for this photo shoot, da 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 da. And then a month later, she's like, oh, they picked this for this cover, magazine cover. So I said, I told you that picture. I said, that picture was going to get you something, you know?
Yeah.
So because when I looked at it, I just felt this upliftment and this energy, and I just felt my heart open. And that happens with all of us. And as you do this exercise more, you'll be able to pick things up, like this is the right action for me, or this is the right decision. Because remember, again, it has to be something that's going to be life enhancing.
Yeah.
So what brings us joy, what makes me feel uplifted is always life enhancing. If something makes me feel caved in or small, that's not life enhancing. That's not, there's something wrong with that decision or off with that decision. You know, either more facts are needed or it's completely the wrong situation. And please, everyone knows this that's ever dated. You know in the beginning when you go, oh, I knew there was something off.
Yeah.
Because your body was right.
Ain't that the truth?
Your body was trying to tell you.
Your body was trying to tell you. There was probably a little, I've had it too, the body, and then there's some flash that you can't discern, but it's not a positive, happy flash. It's like a cringy flash. And then a few weeks or a month or two later, you go, oh, that's what that meant. So again, you know, Maria, we go back to this. People, you have to slow down. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
Whether intuition, inner guidance, living more authentically, we just can't do it racing around. You have to take the time,
Yeah.
put the message out, the call out, kind of wait. Discipline, I mean, you have to have some discipline, you know, to kind of retrain the mind and get it used to, okay, this is how I, you know, find my answers.
Yeah. I also think we lose ourselves so much in the chaos and we become who we're not.
Yeah.
Case in point, for our 90 Day Fiancé fans.
Yes.
Watch 90 Day Fiancé this season.
I'm obsessed with that show. Which one?
Obsessed.
Oh my God.
Did you
Okay.
watch this season?
I watched this season. I watched the tell-all last night.
Me too. So Tanya,
Oh, no.
tell me that girl is not lost. She is so type A, wants everything to be perfect,
Yeah.
is so unhappy inside. She
Yeah.
doesn't even know it. She's so masculine. She's throwing him into such feminine.
Yeah.
And
He's a great guy.
yeah, like, I mean, they both are interesting.
Yeah.
But I think when I look at her, I'm like, that's everything I don't want to be anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Just that like controlling. And it's not her true nature. I don't think it's her true nature because she seems like before, like she was conditioned that there's you see a sweetness in there.
It's a protection mechanism.
Yeah. And then there were moments where she got to be herself with him when you have little flashes and you're like, oh no, that's who she really is.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at all of, and most of us as females that have had to survive in a man's world have had to masculine up and it's not our true nature, right? To be this crazy busy and all of this. It's interesting because we lose ourselves and we become the opposite of who we are. I've gone through it myself.
Yeah.
And I found myself in the stillness and I'm like, wait, that person I am happy with. That I can be. I was not happy with that other person where it was like, nobody could even talk to me. I'm like, I got to get this email out. Just don't talk to me. I can't, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy. Ugh.
I know.
Ugh.
But you're right. You're taught, because I remember I was always so peaceful and content and had this side of me. And then at a certain point in my life, I had people telling me,
You're lazy? My parents.
Yeah.
Maria, you lazy.
yeah, you're not going to get anything. You have to be more get up and go. And so then I did get into that. I got into this whole, to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And then when I dived deeper into my spirituality and started studying and doing all these retreats and went to India, they were like, all the meditation courses were about contentment. And I was like, I had that one time.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, contentment, what about the get and the go? And they're like, no, the peace and calm. And I'm like, oh no, now I got to undo all this stuff
Yeah.
to get back to what I had naturally that people told me you're never going to be successful, go anywhere.
Yep.
You know,
I just wanted to save animals.
Yeah.
You lazy. And you talk too much. Maria, you talk too much. Dad, I made a lot of money
There
talking.
you go.
Yeah.
I made a lot of money talking.
That
And this is
part.
what led me to want to do this show today is is getting us back to ourselves, because we're never going to be really happy until we're ourselves. Yeah. And so, Michele, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom and great tips, because I'm going to have all of us write down our lists, and then we're going to start to figure out how we can incorporate it into our lives.
Love it.
Every show we try to incorporate things so that we can get better, because when you know better, you get better.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes.
Oh, we will.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We will for sure. Before we let you go, though,
don't panic just because it's retrograde. No, so many cool things about. I cannot wait to write that list, because I have not thought about 4 to 8 ever. I've never really thought about that time.
I know. It's funny because I don't remember things, but I do remember what I liked. Because instantly my gut reaction was, I don't remember, because I generally have a hard time remembering my youth, which is weird, I guess.
Yeah. Me too.
Maybe because it's been a long time. I don't know. But then I do remember the things that I loved, and they started coming to me, and I started getting so excited throughout the episode. But Stephen, any comments?
A lot of comments. I'm going to save them for the after show, though.
Oh.
Yeah. I have lots of comments.
Oh.
I have some good takeaways, and I have also some theories and maybe some filters through which we could put the astrology stuff to make sense for people like me who think it's absolute nothing. Hey, let's go ahead and move on.
Wow. Leave it to Stephen always. Listen, we are well represented here. We are representing every voice, and every voice is important and matters.
Maybe I would believe more if I was born under a shadow.
It actually, when you really do study it, it does make a lot of sense, because I get it. When you haven't, there's not an understanding. But anyhow.
I've looked into it.
You've really looked into it?
I have really looked into it.
Oh, damn. Okay, well, this after show is going to be fun.
This after show is going to be good. You have to be a Patreon member.
Damn. We're going to get into it. Well, thank you guys for listening to our Better Together show. Please help us by rating, commenting, subscribing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We are so grateful for the feedback. Not going to lie, every time I'm not feeling really good, I go there and I look to see what amazing comment has come through. And it really gives us life. So thank you for that. And of course, rating is really, really helpful for people who are coming to the show and want to know if this is good or bad. So give us a quick 5-star, little something, something. New episodes drop every Monday. If you want to reach us, you can get us at bettertogetherwithmaria@gmail.com. That's for just more enhanced comments. Stephen has some he wants to get to. I believe he's waving at me.
I'm waving at you. I'm like this.
Yes.
Yeah, we have our shout outs for our Patreon members.
Yes.
And for the insiders. And
Yes.
we also have iTunes review that I want to shout out.
Okay.
Shout out to our Patreon insiders. We have Allison Crum, Annette Gazelle, Marilena Faleras, Susan Brockway, Sean Carbonell, and Wendy Harder. But I also want to get to this iTunes comment, which I thought we have 2 of them. Let me get to the 2 that I was going to highlight. One is from Shanta Shanta, says love, 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 and love. How to find and keep love with Patty Stanger is by far the best episode. Thank you.
Ooh.
And
love
then we
that.
had from Destiny Charming, says interview with Patty Stanger review, 5 stars. I love your podcast, Maria. I've been listening since 2018. I thought the podcast with Patty Stanger about finding love was super informative and smart. I will definitely be using some of her advice, although it's just advice that my mother has been telling me for years. However, I did not like how she spoke to Stephen. It was way too much. I know it's her job to be hard, but she was just rude, especially when she called him a girl when he described his workout routine. I'd date Stephen just the way he is. I think he's so sweet, and he will find a lovely girl who will not try to change him. I like Patty, but her methods are a little off sometimes. Anyway, I love you, Maria. You are an angel from heaven.
That's amazing. I'm sure you got great pleasure in that one. Oh,
my God. She really had your back.
That's so cute. I love it.
I got some stands out there.
I know. Well, thank you guys, of course, for being part of our community. You can visit Michele's website, by the way, www.soulplayground.com, to gain access to our books, upcoming events, and our podcast, Awakening Podcast. We're also going to put a link to her web event in the summary of this episode. In the meantime, follow us at Maria Menounos, at Michele Meiche, at Steph Sabra, at Stephen Lemieux Photo. And remember, be nice, people. Follow us on Patreon because we're going to get into it right now. Be nice people, make good choices, and be present.